Welcome to Free Media. I'm Amber Duke.
And I'm Robby Soave. Well, Twitter Files journalist Matt Taibbi testified on Capitol Hill on Tuesday during the House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing on the censorship industrial complex. Let's watch.
Highly connective to Russia. All he had to do to get on the list was retweet what they called anti-US propaganda, or GEC's subjective definition of pro-Russian propaganda. No actual connection was required. Through this means, the GEC exactly rehabilitated the fellow traveler concept used by infamous smear artists and witch hunters from history, from Leon Trotsky to the House Un-American Affairs Committee. It was a way to accuse someone who hasn't done anything wrong of guilt by ideological association. And I'll just wrap up, gone over my time, but they weren't looking for misinformation and disinformation. They were looking for orthodoxy and unorthodoxy, obedience and disobedience. The idea behind GEC in particular was finding a way to propagandize American citizens and encourage acceptance of official policy the way we've always done to foreign populations. It's a flagrant violation of First Amendment ideals and should be eradicated from the government completely. No one should have this tool, not Democrats, not the Trump administration, nobody.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.
And despite Mark Zuckerberg promising to reverse course on free speech censorship, a new report from The Daily Caller argues it has all been for show. Amber, you work for The Daily Caller. Maybe you can fill me in on what exactly your reporter found.
I'd be happy to. So Rob McGreevy looked into the content standards, terms of service for Facebook, because back in January, Mark Zuckerberg promised this was going to be a new era. We're going to be erring on the side of free expression, getting back to Facebook's roots. And there are still a lot of really disturbing things in the content moderation standards. Including they basically just changed their hate speech category to hateful conduct, and it still includes a lot of the same things. So you are not, for example, allowed to insult somebody based on certain characteristics like trustworthiness or courage. So like I couldn't say that Mark Zuckerberg is a liar. I could be banned from Facebook for that. You cannot express disgust under the bullying policy for people defecating, menstruating, vomiting. So if somebody throws up, you can't be like, ew, that person's gross, banned from Facebook. But I think most disturbing, and you'll find this compelling, is they got rid of all of their COVID-19 moderation standards, which they were doing in conjunction with public health agencies like the World Health Organization and the CDC and the NIH. But all of those policies still exist for literally any other matter of public health. So for example, if I were to go on Facebook and say, I don't think my baby needs a hepatitis B shot because my baby's not engaging in unsafe sex and injecting heroin into their arm, they could ban me from Facebook for questioning the efficacy or the usefulness of vaccines.
No, that's not good. Somebody's got to tell Mark Zuckerberg about this because he did make those lofty commitments, although do even people still engage in political speech on Facebook? Every time I, flip through my newsfeed there now, it's like a mix of kind of AI curated content that is just they've wrecked that platform.
Well, yeah, because they changed the algorithm to suppress political news stories years ago, and I don't think it's fully recovered.
In favor of lifting up what your family members or your friends say, but I don't even see that stuff anymore.
No,
I just see weird
random people that I became friends with 10 years ago for some random reason, and they're posting about their cat or
that's
something.
What I see.
Yeah.
It's a shame because we were talking about this the other day, actually. I was talking about this with some younger journalists who don't even remember the era where Facebook was this really useful platform for the dissemination of news from all directions. It's important for mainstream people. It was very good for conservative news, alternate viewpoints. And now it's not good for anybody. So I hope Mark continues to try to live up to the promises he made and not do any of those things so that you can have those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. And I think it is important. We were talking about whether his shift to the right was sincere a few months ago on the show.
He did cancel the fact checkers.
He did.
Fired all them, which is
great news. But when you go to the underlying motivations for why this shift is happening, obviously the Trump election, but also the FTC recently opened a public comment period for instances of censorship on social media companies, which is something that typically precedes an official investigation. And they're also going to trial next week on the anti-monopoly case back when Facebook bought Instagram and WhatsApp. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of trying to signal to Trump, like, hey, can you get all of these investigations off of my company? But going to the government censorship hearing, this was fascinating to me because Matt Taibbi and Ben Weingarten are appearing next to none other than Nina Jankowicz.
Who viewers should remember
Yes.
was the head of that. What was it even called? That it was the government
Disinformation
board, global disinformation board. It was for the government.
And it was under DHS,
under
right?
DHS, where she was going to be advising on the spread of disinformation online. Someone who had, and I'm always like, okay, where's the evidence that they're an independent thinker or that they're really good at being a referee, at saying, hey, this is disinformation? Inevitably, invariably, the people who call themselves experts in this category of speech have fallen for everything that has tricked disinformation experts or fact checkers in the past. Thought the Hunter Biden laptop story was a Russian plant, and so on and so forth, and it has made very few apologies for having gotten that really fundamental story for why conservatives are so aggrieved about the treatment on social media. That's the big one, and is just total oopsies about it.
Yeah,
or if they even admit that it was a mistake.
Yeah, in fact, when she was pushed out of the Biden administration because of all of the public backlash over her sing-songy Broadway-esque video denying the Hunter Biden laptop, she effectively claimed she was the victim of bullying.
Right.
And it wasn't anything to do with her lack of credentials or the fact that she had fallen for so many of these instances of misinformation that she claimed to want to police. It was those darn conservatives are coming after me and turning herself into the victim.
And I'm sure she got a lot of hate, and that sucks,
Good.
but we're showing our different approach here. But everyone gets a lot of hate when they're in the crosshairs of people online. They've made people mad.
We've both been there.
We've both been there. It's not fun, but you can't, it's really cringe to go like, even though I was wrong, I'm now the victim because people are really mad at me about me being wrong. If you're in public life, if you purport to have some influence over the dialogue as you and I do, as she did, as someone who wanted to be able to turn down the faucet of public discussion, who was purported to advise the government on how to take steps to pressure social media companies to let you speak less, and was wrong about one of the things she was going to be doing the advising on. Yeah, that does make me pretty mad. It's still wrong to do death threats or whatever, but you're gonna get some criticism if you do
That's right.
that.
And inevitably with these hearings, I'm always like, okay, this testimony is really interesting. I'm glad they're doing this,
But
but
we've covered this 800 times by now.
yeah,
We
for
have
what
covered it
purpose?
800
What are you
times
going to do about it?
Does
How
Matt
are you going
Taibbi
to make
just
sure it
live on
doesn't
Capitol
happen
Hill
again?
now?
Right? Yeah, and Ben was there last week too,
Yeah.
and now he's back.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
We have aired this topic a lot, and so you could have, and actually I think Rand Paul has proposed legislation. There was the executive order that Trump did,
True.
Saying that, and I'm fine with actions taken against the government officials, saying don't initiate contact with the social media companies in all these sorts of ways. I'm good with that. I believe Rand Paul and others have legislation to formalize that. Let's do some of it. We've had a lot of hearings on this.
Exactly.
A lot of light has been shown on the topic. Now let's make sure the government never tries to do
Yes,
this again.
people are tired of the complaining. They're tired of the endless talking about it. You're in power. Do something to make sure that it never happens again.
Yeah. That's it for today. Come back tomorrow for more of our hot takes. See you then.